about your journey of sports, your experiences, how you tackle all the hardships you get in all the field and everything during your path. So can we please go ahead with that?
Sure, yeah. So I started playing squash when I was about like 10 years old, and at the time my father I used to watch him play squash, and I was like, oh, this looks fun, I want to try it out. And somehow the day I started playing, it just something that clicked, and I was like, I really, really love it. So initially, I think the first 4 to 5 years playing, my parents were very supportive. They gave me a lot of opportunity and stuff, but the coaching was missing, good coaching in Delhi. I was always very hardworking, and my effort from my side was 110%, but I didn't get any results. Like for the first 7 years of playing squash, literally waking up every morning, 7 a.m., doing fitness, going to school, coming back, going to the squash courts till like 7, 8 at night, I would be training. But yeah, somehow, I think because my parents never put any pressure on me, I was kind of able to just still love the sport despite the fact that I was losing every tournament, either in the pre-quarters or quarters. And I felt like, all these other girls, I'm putting in as much hard work as them, but somehow I was just never getting the result. Then around when I was a year before I went to college, my father's one of his really good friends, Ranji uncle, his son was an ex-squash player, not a coach. He came to just give me like match practice, and I played a match with him. And after the match, he gave me some really good tips. And I realized he is unlike any coach I've had, and he's not even a coach. He had this very analytical brain. He was able to see my game, and within a matter of seconds, he was like, Tanvi, you need to fix this, this, this. And the next day, after fixing those things, I was suddenly being able to beat someone who I was struggling with the whole year. So I spoke to my father and I said, this guy is literally should be a squash coach. Like, he's been able to, in one session, he's been able to kind of help me so much. And so we kind of forced him. We said, you are a coach. And he said, I don't want to charge nothing. I'm just doing it because out of pure passion, I'll help you. And it was just amazing from being absolutely not even top 5 in India. In 1 year, I became top 3 in Asia. And it was just like after 7-8 years of waiting, I finally had that one big win. Until date, I think when my parents and everyone talk about it, it's just that I think hard work always pays off. It's just that you have to keep staying on that path. And if you really love something, it doesn't, for me, it never felt like work. Like training day in and day out is just something I'm so passionate about, and the results, they just come, if you stay with a good mindset. Then I went to college in Columbia. Unfortunately, I didn't get good coaching there and stuff like that, but I went through my own journey when I was in college studying there. I feel like my upbringing was very sheltered. My parents were a big part of it, so I didn't have kind of like my own personality, my own thoughts. So I think going abroad, staying on my own, getting exposed to new subjects, new people, new professors, I learned a lot about myself. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned in the past 6-7 years is just how much you limit yourself by having negative thoughts about yourself. And especially if you're playing a sport and your mind is thinking negatively, it translates. And I think in the past few years, especially in the past 6 months, that is some of the biggest changes I'm making is just like mentally, when I'm kind of refreshing myself, like learning how to kind of keep the slate clean, I'm a much better squash player. 2 years ago, during COVID, I was doing really well. I felt like I was breaking into the top 60, top 50 in the world. I won 2 tournaments. In this last tournament, I tore my ACL in the finals of the last tournament. And for me, that was a very, very big moment in my life, because after a lot of hard work, I finally felt, coming back from college, I finally felt like now, okay, on the world tour, I'll kind of break into the top 50 now. Next few years for me are going to be very important. And then suddenly I tear my ACL and the doctor's like, you can't play for 1 year. So the first 3 months were like absolute hell. But the amount I've learned in that 1 year just about myself, my identity, the fact that squash is not everything for me. Because up till that point it was everything. when I won or lost, I felt bad. It was like a lot of my self-worth and who I felt I was as a person was attached to my results on the squash court. So when that injury happened, because I was spending so much time just alone by myself in the room with my thoughts, it kind of showed me also the dark side of sports and also athletes and how much pressure we put. And then there's also a life outside of the work you do, that your relationships with people, your other hobbies are just as important. And if you kind of live a life that is a little more balanced, you kind of water all these other gardens as well, you actually end up doing much better in life because you're not putting so much pressure on yourself. You're actually a more happier person. And I do feel the happier you are, the better you do in whatever work and stuff you do. So I guess a year after I came back, 1 year I didn't play squash, and then the last year I started playing again, and it's just like 3 months ago I won one of my biggest tournaments. I played a tournament in Australia. So it was a year after coming back, and I just feel like it's all kind of falling into place for me right now, and like the next 1 year is very important for me, and I have a long way to go. I feel like physically I need to build a lot more, but I just feel like when you have a good team and a good attitude, like you go a long way in life.
Like your journey, your experiences, your fallbacks, and how you just grew up from them.
मेरी जर्नी भी ऐसे ही खेलते खेलते ही शुरू हुई थी. कुछ खास स्पोर्ट्स में से करना है ऐसे कोई इच्छा नहीं थी कि ओलंपिक्स जाना है, यहाँ जाना है. क्रिकेट खेलते खेलते मैं भी स्पोर्ट्स की जर्नी मैंने अपनी शुरू की. स्कूल में मैं यहीं पे सरदार पटेल विद्यालय में पढ़ा दिल्ली में. 5th तक हमारा हिंदी मीडियम था, उसके बाद इंग्लिश मीडियम में पढ़ा. फिर उसके बाद मुझे यूएस जाने का चांस मिला, अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली. तो शायद कहीं ना कहीं आई थिंक मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंटली अपब्रिंगिंग में शायद कुछ लेसन्स ये थे कि पेरेंट्स मेरी मम्मी तो हमेशा सपोर्टिव थी, बट पापा को स्पोर्ट्स में इतना इंटरेस्ट उनको था, लेकिन वो नहीं चाहते थे कि उनका लड़का स्पोर्ट्स करे. अगर करना है तो क्रिकेट करे. ही वॉज अ वेरी सक्सेसफुल लॉयर. आई लॉस्ट हिम इन 2014, बट उनका ये सपना था कि मैं क्रिकेट खेलूँ, अगर खेलना है तो, या फिर मैं लॉ करूँ. तो मेरी बहन वो सपना पूरा कर रही है लॉ करके, बट मैं तो नहीं कर रहा. बट आई थिंक वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट लेसन्स वॉज कि एक बार ऐसे ही जब मैंने छोड़ा था, अभी हम जब जो 2014 में थे, 2010 के आसपास हॉस खास में हम शिफ्ट हुए थे. हम GK2 में वहाँ पे कालका जी में रहते थे. तो एक दिन स्कूल में ही ऐसे, और ये साउथ दिल्ली थोड़ा ये होता है ना, तो हॉस खास में शिफ्ट हुए. स्कूल में जाके कोई पूछ रहे थे कि आप कहाँ पे रहते हैं, लेकिन साउथ दिल्ली ऐसे करके मैंने बोला. इंग्लिश मीडियम था, 6ठी क्लास में नया नया इंग्लिश भी थोड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस आ रहा था, तो बोला. और फिर उसके बाद घर आके शायद कहीं ना कहीं से उठते हुए पापा को खबर आई होगी, अच्छा आप साउथ दिल्ली में रहते हैं. हाँ पापा, ये मैं रहता हूँ साउथ दिल्ली में, तुम नहीं रहते.